The day of the week needs no introduction, my dudes, and neither does the subject of this week's video, provided you saw last week's video. If not, awkward. But hopefully this roller coaster will look familiar. We're going to be completing this hypercoaster here, which, I'm not done too much speeding up of the footage just yet. Well, I have now, but at the beginning, give you a nice little overview of the ride so far. If you'd like to watch the POV of what we have so far, it's at the end of last week's video, which is linked in the description in the form of the full playlist. So I guess, this is episode 22, just click on episode 21. I feel like I'm spending too long padding out the introduction to this video, because again, it is another long one. Let's just scroll out on my Vegas timeline. I got to talk for 22 minutes. Shouldn't be a problem. I can talk about things for 22 minutes, but can I talk about anything meaningful? The answer to that is no, but we're going to try anyway. So welcome to this Planet Coaster video, episode 22 of Neptune Park. Already said all this, let's keep on moving on. How is everyone? It's really easy. I can have like a conversation with my friends in the pub, or just, without the need for alcohol as well. Although I'm pretty sure I'm far less tolerable without it. You can talk for hours and hours and hours. It's much harder when it's just you sitting in a room with a microphone, just watching a time lapse of a video game that you made. You're just like, so, how's work? Oh, really? Oh, good. You see, if you've been responding to my questions just then, I can't hear you. That's the tragedy. That's the real tragedy. I'm going to start a charity, I think, for people like me who are going through the emotional hardships of having to only the comfort of millions of views. It's a real tragedy. Not that I'm trying to downplay how eternally grateful I am for you guys supporting this channel, and you're supporting this channel. You're going above and beyond the line of duty by watching these videos. Curl Whispering, fair enough, but these videos, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. There's not much more I can really talk about in terms of the introduction for this video. We're not even building the roller coaster. We're just beautifying it, which is quite a painstaking process in Planet Coaster, which is kind of how it necessitated its own video. I've got it, basically this is the fastest Sony Vegas can play back footage. Like, I've time-lapsed it as much as possible without using like third-party add-ins. So yeah. This is what you got. So the subject of this video, we're going to be beautifying the track, as I just said literally seconds ago. But we're also going to be building the train station for the coaster. Now, building the station for roller coasters, I should probably not talk about this now, so I have some material when we get to the station. But forget it. I live in the moment. So actually, I could talk about this. I didn't know what to do with this mountain, so in the end, I just covered it in trees. Generally, that's my default in this game. When I don't know what to do with a piece of land, I just cover it in trees and rocks and call it a day. There's a little POV just there. I guess we're going to watch the whole thing. There we go. So yes, like I said, building the station usually I find to be the hardest part of building roller coasters, just because I find it hard to design a kind of interesting structure. Like, it's all well and good just building like a box on stilts. That was pretty much all my stations in Crimson Tower and Mirror Lake. My phone, I should need to mute my phone. Hello, I'm back. I've muted my phone now. So yeah, like I said, in Crimson Tower and especially Mirror Lake, basically all my roller coaster stations were boxes. In fact, one of my coasters was built inside a giant box in Mirror Lake. It was like a dark ride, but it was like the lowest effort dark ride possible. Like, it was just a great big square building, and that was it. And it wasn't even dark. It was full of light. There were big sun windows. And Mirror Lake, I look back on it and think, it was rubbish. Actually, here's an idea for a station building very quickly. This was kind of inspired by the Futurama base, the actual, building bit, not the tower. But in the end, it just looked a bit strange. Maybe if I put a bit more work into it, it would look good. I think part of the problem is how tall this station is. So we kind of have to build some sort of elevated structure that doesn't look kind of stupid. So that was the challenge here. So in the end, I went for this kind of, not suspended, the other word, elevated architecture. Like, you see buildings on stilts, but I thought I'd take inspiration from Soviet Russia, because, you gotta seize the means of production when building theme parks, right? I don't know. I didn't think that joke through. Joke in air quotes, by the way. So yeah, I'm basically what I'm trying to say is that it uses a brutalist style of architecture, which is just lots of big angles, concrete structures, basically. But for the context of this ride, we want something fairly intimidating. I think it looked pretty good, and it's a nice sort of unique look for the station, rather than it being just a generic brick square building with for the station, I suppose. So that's the gist. And I had to, I was really proud of how the transfer track actually worked out for the garage, station garage as well. As some of you may know, roller coasters, at least ones of this scale, will often have a like secondary track that can be like that the main track can be redirected onto, so that cars can be switched around and moved into maintenance sheds, stuff like that. I was pretty proud of how I went about doing it on this one, and I made sure it was realistic, because at the time I was like, this is completely unrealistic, but I did find a roller coaster in real life that also works in a similar way. So we'll get to that. I can't get too ahead of myself. This is kind of the main part of the structure that I think made it look brutalist. Like, I suppose I didn't really go in with the intention of making it brutalist, but I knew kind of working with concrete that was probably going to happen. But this was kind of the bit that solidified it. I was like, yes, this looks something straight out of Soviet Russia, this structure. So just big concrete stilts raising it up. So I thought the base looked a bit flimsy actually, so I did end up sort of padding that out with more of those temple piece flanges at ground level, just because it does look a little bit ridiculous at the moment. So I, removed the bits of the wall to create a true building on stilts appearance. And there it is there. So generally with Planet Coaster, it's more efficient to just build out in full detail one bit, and then you can just clone the entire thing rather than having to build it again and again and again and again for an entire building. And that's pretty much the station, although as you may notice, the roof is currently levitating, and if we're going for a realistic park, last time I checked, levitation was not a realistic thing to aim for. Although this is Lowne Aerospace, levitation is our aim, but we typically achieve this with massive rockets. So we're not quite there to build gravity-defying roofs just yet. So I created this suspended structure. I don't really know if this is a realistic kind of proportion to that, because the roof looks like it's made of concrete. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be. It would just be like aerospace grade aluminium. It's like the body of a Saturn V recreation that I scrapped for my YouTube channel. I don't know. The backstory to this park is my YouTube channel's company. I mean, you couldn't build a theme park on YouTube salary, at least not yet. If you guys really hit on my Patreon, maybe we can make this park happen. But I'm sorry to sow the seeds of doubt, but it's unlikely. I know it's upsetting for me as well, guys. But sometimes we just have to come to the sad reality of the situation. Regardless, the backstory to this park is the fictional aerospace company that my fictional rocket series was centered around. Didn't think that sentence through. I don't know if you guys could tell, these videos aren't actually scripted. So that was me you may have caught that very briefly, me just cloning the entire structure to kind of have it serve as we just have another copy of that building to serve as the station. But then I thought, we have this giant box underneath the actual, station itself. Why don't we just use this and have the track lower itself down? So we create like a sort of lift just before the station that lowers the track, and the train can then wheel in. And I thought, well, it's probably not realistic because, I've never heard of this happening. And, I checked I checked the second page of Google when I typed in transfer track types, and there wasn't any mention of it. So I was pretty skeptical that this would actually be a realistic thing. Not that it would be entirely out of the realm of what's possible, given, you can get these like insane car garages and stuff. And there are places like, there's that. Is it in Amsterdam? No, I wouldn't be Amsterdam. Amsterdam's too flat. But there's a place in Norway again. I don't know. It's somewhere in Europe. There's like a canal that like lifts up. It's like a giant wheel. But you can get like elevators for giant boats as well. What I'm essentially saying is that we have the technological ability to create lifts in real life. But I thought I wanted to go a bit above and beyond. I wanted to make sure that there was definitely a coaster in real life that does work this way. And there is. And I've forgotten the name of it. So I'm just going to quickly check. Yes, I've just checked. The coaster is called Lightning Rod, which is quite a well-known, if you're a massive nerd like I am, it's quite a well-known hybrid coaster. So slightly different train design. The trains will probably be a lot lighter than the trains on this ride, admittedly, but the concept still stands. There is at least one coaster. There are probably others as well. Particularly if it's like in a non-English speaking country, which doesn't have a particularly well documented Wikipedia page. But it can be done. So it will be done in this series. So now I'm just kind of creating this artificial kind of. I was trying to make the structure here look like it would have a mechanism for raising the track up and down. Obviously, transfer tracks are not a thing in this game. It's purely cosmetic. We're just doing this to make it look good. So Sorry, I just got a billion Discord pop-ups just came up. I guess Discord just finally updated. Now my notifications are coming through. So I got a bit distracted just then. My eyes, they wander. So, yeah, like I say, I was just trying to dress this thing up to make it look like it has the ability to go up and down, though obviously, in reality, it's just a completely static statue, I suppose. So, I've had another... Kirking, I'm going to reply to a Discord message now. Kirking, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy my Kerbal Space Program videos. I'll probably reply to you in person, but there you go. You're now in a video. Congrats. Please now please don't spam me now in the hopes that you'll get mentioned in the commentary. I'll have to set a precedent that I'll probably never do this again now, but whatever. Thank you for the message. Anyway, this is again me trying to pad out because we're not even halfway. Come on, I need to think of a topic to talk about. What is your favourite colour? Again, I have to revert to having a conversation and remember that I don't have anyone to talk to. So my favourite colour is... maybe what I should do is have like a Q&A section of my Discord and then we just get inundated with memes, admittedly. But something like that, maybe I can just answer questions week on week. But, it's only going to last me so long. I guess a sort of semi-common theme in this series is that I talk about stuff in my daily life. So this was the big stress that happened this week, okay? I've bought a dash cam and I bought a hardwire kit for it so I can just plug it into my car's fuse box. So I don't have to worry about faffing around with the cigarette lighter every time. Not because I need the cigarette lighter for smoking, don't smoke, kids, but it's just a bit of a pain having to keep on remembering to plug it in. If it's always plugged in, I never have to really think about it. So I popped open my fuse box, I had a little ganders to look at what kind of adapter I needed because I learned the hard way that the hardwire kit doesn't actually come with the physical plug that plugs it into the fuse box. So it seems like a bit of a silly decision to not include such an essential piece of the hardwire kit in the hardwire kit. But regardless, this is a separate rant entirely. I opened the fuse box to have a look and I was like, okay. So I closed the fuse box, went on eBay, ordered it, and... I don't know, maybe I recorded last week's Planet Coaster video, I don't know. For me, by the way, it's a Friday. I'm recording this a Friday for next week because I have a lot on next week. As in, I need to get Green Harvest episode 6 finished next week. So I need as much time as I can to get that done. So I thought, let's just get this one done out of the way so I don't have to worry about doing it later on. So yeah, I recorded the Planet Coaster video for this week. No, for this week for me, last week for you guys, not that long ago. So... that's why that makes sense in the context of in the timeline of my story. I feel like that was a bit of a tangent that didn't really need to happen, but whatever. So I went around my merry way, and the next day I got in my car, turned the ignition key, my stereo didn't turn on. I was like, okay, let's take the stereo out of the, because it's like it's an aftermarket stereo. My car is like a 2010 car, so it's not an old car. But it's 8 years old now. It's kind of old now. And I want my DAB radio, DAB, digital radio, and like with all the fancy features and stuff. So I bought an aftermarket stereo. But my car is kind of like quite complicated to wire it apparently. And my car, it has like has media controls on the steering wheel, like volume and next song and all that. And it's very hard to wire in a stereo to work with those controls. So I was like talking to the guys from like a garage in Leicester that like installs sound systems, and I was like, look, I'll just pay you like £50 or however much the labour is to get it installed and just do it, because you've got to install like a separate box behind the dash, so it takes a lot of effort. And I was like, you know what, I'll just pay for the convenience of having someone do it. The downside is that when it came to troubleshooting why my stereo had died, I had no idea, because I was like, well, I didn't fit this, I don't know what it looks like. My old car was a real piece of garbage. It was a 1995 Ford Fiesta, and that's why I wired all that myself. So that was fairly simple, but this is now getting to the realm of a nicer car, so it's all a bit more complicated now. So I went to Halfords and bought a multimeter, and I checked all my fuses in my fuse box, particularly the ones that do the stereo, and they were all fine. I was like, okay, so the fuses are fine. What do we do? So I found a garage that repairs stereos in Plymouth, and I thought, right, I'm going to give them a ring, but let's just quickly test the stereo out one more time. And it didn't work. And then I noticed there was like a little hole on the back of it. It was a reset button, so I pressed that. Nothing happened. And then, to this day, I don't know why I did this, but I took the fuse out. I opened the fuse box again. I took the fuse out, put it back in, and then I pressed reset again on the stereo. Then it worked. I don't know why this worked or how this worked. I don't know how it happened, because, at the very beginning of this story, I said that I bought a dash cam and was checking the fuses and all that. That's all I did. I opened the fuse box, had a look at the fuses, didn't touch them even. I just had a look at them, and And that was it. But the act of doing that must seem to have broke my stereo. I can't think of any other explanation. Like, it always worked fine. I never had any problems with that stereo. But as soon as I open the fuse box, the very next day it doesn't work. I just think, does anyone shed some light on this? This seems really weird to me. But that was the big thing that happened in my life this week, which just goes to show how devoid of interesting things my life really is. Now I come to think of it. Though later I've got some friends coming around tonight. We're having a little whiskey night. I've got some nice whiskies at the moment, which I can't really talk about too much. I mean, we're having an apple juice night. Let's not, before someone comments that meme again. I tell you what, actually, we had so in the clinical world of medicine. That was two very redundant things. I could have just said one or the other. But you got to have we have a clinical governance thing every other month run by a different department within ophthalmology, which is eye department. So this week it was done by the optometrists, and they were showing off all their low vision stuff. So, people with really poor vision, like macular degeneration or glaucoma or diabetic retinopathy, or, really anything that can cause vision loss. They have all these low vision pieces of equipment to help them out. So you get kind of magnifiers, bright lights, that sort of thing. And then they showed us the smart apps, and that you can, I don't know if it's on Android. They were saying that it was only for iOS, but I'm sure there must be an equivalent for Android. It's called Seeing AI. What it is, you just basically install it on your phone, and then your phone can read things. You hold it to a menu or something, and it will read it out. Except the thing is, it uses that meme voice-to-text speech. You see those montage parodies, and it has the voice-to-speech guy. It's that voice, and they were showing it, and it was this really sincere thing. And I just the way it was just dictating these, I couldn't believe. I found it really funny. I think because I'm just a child, and I find those sorts of pathetic things funny, but I find it really funny. But then it can do things like you can point your phone at someone, and then it will read their face, and it will tell you kind of their gender and their age and all that, and what kind of mood they're in. So it's great fun holding it to my friend who's 25, and it's 36-year-old man looking glum in that stupid voice-to-speech, text-to-speech, that's the word I needed, text-to-speech voice. So yeah, great fun. If you have an iPhone, it's great fun just walking around. Or, I mean, if you have, as a serious note now, if you do have friends and relatives who have sight loss or visual impairment, this could be a potentially really useful app for them. Especially things like looking at simple things like sell-by dates on cans of products, or anything, not necessarily a can. It could be potentially useful. So it's funny if you have normal sight and just want to laugh, but also it's a useful thing. So as much as I like to laugh about it, it is a pretty amazing piece of technology, and tech is only getting better and better and better, So, I mean, bionic eyes are a thing. They're a thing now. They're not very good. They're basically there for people who have no sight whatsoever, not even light perception, which only a small percentage of people who are registered blind actually are. I think it's, I can't think of the statistics now. I think it's only, I want to say 1 in 6 or 1 in 4, or maybe it's a third. It's the minority of people who are registered blind, as in severely sight impaired in the UK, are actually totally blind. Most people can see something. Whether it's extreme tunnel vision, or they've lost their central vision, so their central vision's crap, so most of their fine visual acuity is gone, but they have perfect peripheral vision, so they can still navigate things like that, enhancing those things. This is kind of a very off-topic thing to talk about in a video in which I construct a roller coaster in Planet Coaster. Well, I guess the roller coaster was constructed last week, so it's kind of swings and roundabouts to other rides that I'm a big fan of. But I think we are coming to the end of this commentary now, so I can start to relax about panicking about coming up with topics, and just chillax a bit. Chillax, what a word! It's like they combined chill and relax to ironically create the most infuriating word ever devised. But there's the final POV shot there. Well, this was me testing it, making sure everything looked okay. And I thought kind of before I kind of finally declare this thing finished, I thought the front bits, as soon as the train leaves the station, it looks a little bit underbuilt. You look at Silver at building roller coasters, and he spends 3 hours creating a fake fuse box at the beginning of the ride. These actual Planet Coaster YouTubers, not pseudo Planet Coaster YouTubers like me, they put next level in terms of the detail they put into the rides. I'm not quite there yet, but I thought, kind of cool to have some sort of suspended structure here, so engineers could theoretically access that generator box or whatever It looks like a motor to me, so I'm going to call it that. Access that. So yeah, that was that last bit. I'll fast forward through the lift hill, so I'll quickly say some goodbyes now. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and indeed the rest of your week, and indeed the rest of this playlist. We are now at the top of the lift hill, so I'm going to leave you here, but there are some links on screen which I recommend clicking at the end. Goodbye.